Why do you ride a ZX14R? Why don't you downsize? Your gauges are broken. Why aren't they moving? Something's wrong. What cameras do you use? How do you shoot your videos? Why does it look like that? Why do you wear black helmet and a black jacket? What's your philosophy on safety gear? Hey guys, welcome back. Those are the top 4 or 5 most asked questions, and some of them are kind of tied into one another. We're going to get into those one by one. The gauges are broken. Why aren't your gauges working? One video in particular has turned up more of those questions than all the others combined, and I don't know why it's that video alone. Now, in that video, I do an opening at a local fish camp. It's out there on Lake Jessup, and I go into the parking lot, I get on the bike, and I start it up. If you just watch when I turn the key on, the gauges both sweep up and back. That tells you they're working. They can't do that if they're not working. Secondly, when I start the engine, you can see the RPMs come alive. Up to 1200 RPM, that's right where it's supposed to be. Watch as I drive off, you'll see the speedometer starting to move. Now, you can't see it because of the handlebar mount is right between 0 and about 40 miles an hour, which is where that needle is for most of that video. For some reason, the way I film is just very calm and predictable. My speeds are slow. Also, when I ride, I'm just not randomly, revving the engine. I don't go to a stoplight, see a group of people, and just rev the engine. Hey, look at me. I'm not doing that. I'm just riding slow and smooth and constant. And so if I'm holding 45 miles an hour, why would they be moving? So, but I just found that funny because people were accusing me of faking it. And this is the other thing. I got a lot of people accusing me of green screening all my videos, that they're all fake. If I were that good at green screening and compositing, I would be in Hollywood right now pulling down 6 or 7 figures a year. Man, I'm not. I promise you I'm not. And, then the other thing too is, why would anyone green screen such a thing when you could just AI it, I mean, really, no, I'm not faking my videos. They're real. I'm shooting it with a camera. Okay, and so continuing on with that, how do I shoot my videos? What gear do I use and everything? And that's probably a subject that I can cover in a video all by itself. But just real quick, I'll tell you the specs on it. I'm using GoPros. Simple. I started with an 11 and I had a 5 and I added a Hero 11 or 12. Usually it's 2 cameras. Sometimes I can put 3 on. I can have one on my helmet. My primary camera is on a mount that I made that goes on the gas tank surrounding mount, and so it's hard mounted. It doesn't move and shake. And that's the view that goes right through the windshield. I have RAM mounts that I can put on either mirror stock and get those shots of the the rider. The settings that I use are very specific, and again, it's just I've been shooting GoPro videos for 20 years, and when they came out, they were always very wide angle, fish-eyed. They were over sharpened. They were over saturated. They were overexposed, and that look, for some reason, I wanted something different. And so I shoot in a very cinematic way. I shoot 24 frames. I shoot double the shutter speed. I use ND filters. And most importantly, I turn off the wide angle. I try to get rid of that fisheye. So I'm shooting at the most narrow setting I can possibly get, which is really just a crop sensor. It doesn't change the length of the lens, but it's the narrowest lens that I can shoot with, called linear. Color grading, I use Davinci Resolve. For audio, I use Audacity to clean up audio. And it's just, like I said, it's very straightforward. And if you guys want to know more about that and see some behind the scenes stuff, I can make a video like that. Just let me know in the comments. The ZX14R, that was a downsize. Prior to that bike, I was on a Kawasaki C14 Concours. It was about 110 or 120 pounds heavier. Kind of a bucket list bike, I think, for me. I had never owned anything like that. I'd always wanted to, but never did. and I got the opportunity to get that bike, and it's just been a fantastic bike, surpassing all my expectations in every category, especially some that are surprising. You know, and I made a video completely about the ZX14R as a practical sport bike, and that pretty much sums up my thoughts on the ZX14R. But there's some other things. One, it's the engineering behind a bike like that. If you've never been around one, and I mean up close and inside of it, you know, taking the plastics off and seeing how things are done, it's never ending, the amount of engineering. As an example, I live in Florida, and big bikes put off a lot of heat. The bigger the engine, the more power, the more heat. That's just simple physics. I've never ridden a cooler bike. And I don't mean, you know, cool. I mean temperature-wise. The amount of heat that it puts off to your legs and to your seat area it feels less than a 600cc bike. Certainly nowhere near what my 1000cc naked bike puts out. Doesn't put out as much as my comfortable C14. It's really shocking how cool that bike is and how aerodynamic and how all of that works. And so it's just a surprising bike. I love it. ZX14R, best bike for me at this stage of my life. Safety gear, yes. When you say all the gear all the time, to me, that would be a leather race suit. Period. End of story. Because that's the only thing that would survive a 60-mile-an-hour slide on pavement. Or, and even then, if you hit a guardrail at 60 miles an hour sliding, you're going to do damage. So really, there's just limits. And I think that you accept some risks and you wear the gear that you're comfortable with. The gear, it's almost like buying an insurance policy. How big of an insurance policy do you want? And so it's always, I think for starting out, I would up it. If you're new to this, definitely start with all your gear. But if you're some guy out there 65, 70 years old and you're comfortable wearing a hoodie and a pair of fabric gloves and a full face helmet, go for it. That's up to you. Me, I wear as much jacket and upper body as I can. Definitely head and neck and gloves. Pants, I do have riding pants with armor in it that I use on trips. But some of the rides that I'm doing out here, you'll see I just have some armored jeans that I wear. And yeah, so all the gear, all the time, up to the limit that you're comfortable with. Why do I wear black? I mean, I know some people it's funny because it's almost like talking about oil in an automotive forum or something. You tell someone what oil to use, they'll go ballistic. When it comes to safety gear, I'm very much the same as my discussion on rider aids. I like to take responsibility for what I do, and I like to know that responsibility is mine, and that safety is one of those things. And when I ride a motorcycle, I'm responsible for my safety, and I'm not offloading any of that to a computer or AI on my motorcycle, and I am certainly not giving it to the person texting in the car, in the lane next to me. I'm not going to rely on them to look up from their phone and see me with a bright yellow helmet and go, oh, he's wearing a yellow helmet, I mustn't go over there. That, in my first wreck, and I did a video on this that I'll link to, I talked about how I've experienced people looking right at me, definitely seeing me, and then pulling out in front of me. I know what that feels like. I've seen it. I don't understand the psychology behind it. Some people have talked about it in my comments, if you want to go back to that video. And it's true. They say they don't see us, but they do see us. And will bright gear help us? Yeah, probably so, but I'll take a mindset over relying on someone else seeing me just because I have a bright helmet. And that's my personal philosophy. And I know that's going to kind of conflict with a lot of you guys out there, but that's just something I've come to believe. Anyway, hey guys, I want to tell you thanks. I was hoping to put this video out last week, but it just turned out that the other one came. Last week was Thanksgiving, And I had a lot to be thankful for, of course. But especially I want to be thankful to this channel, to this audience, and to you guys for watching, subscribing, helping me grow. I really appreciate it. And just wanted to say thank you. And we'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.